Let me begin with something uncomfortable. Everyone wants to be a high value man, but very few are willing to pay the price of becoming one. It sounds glamorous, doesn't it? Respect, discipline, discipline, discipline. But the brutal reality, it's lonely, it's misunderstood, and it demands more from you than you think you have. Stay with me till the end, because the last lessons will truly change your perspective. My dear friends, if you are between 18 and 45, you have probably felt this pressure to earn more, to build muscles, to lead confidently, to never show weakness, to have it together. You scroll through social media and see men who seem unshakable, focused, calm, successful. And somewhere inside, you ask yourself, am I enough? Let me tell you something gently. Your confusion does not mean you are weak. Your fear does not mean you are incapable. It simply means you are human. But if you truly want to become a man of value, not just in the world's eyes, but in your own conscience, then we need to walk through 7 powerful truths. And they will challenge you. Discipline is greater than motivation. Let us begin here, because this is where the illusion breaks. Most young men are addicted to motivation. They watch videos, they read quotes, they feel pumped for a few hours, and then life returns to normal. The alarm rings at 5 a.m., and suddenly the future billionaire mindset is sleeping peacefully under a warm blanket. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation says, I feel like doing it. Discipline says, I feel like doing it. Discipline says, it needs to be done. There was a young man I once met who told me, I want to transform my life. I asked him, what time do you wake up? He said, whenever my body feels ready. I smiled and told him gently, your body is trained to seek comfort, not greatness. A high-value man understands something very early. Comfort is seductive, but it is also expensive. It charges you your potential. The gym is not hard because of the weights. It is hard because of consistency. Waking up early is not difficult because of the time. It is difficult because of the decision. Building a business is not challenging because of competition. It is challenging because of repetition. And here is the brutal reality. No one is coming to enforce discipline in your life. In school, teachers gave you deadlines. At home, parents gave you rules. But now, you must govern yourself. Self-governance is the foundation of value. A man who cannot control his impulses cannot lead his life. If your phone controls you, if your cravings control you, if your moods control you, how will you control your destiny? Discipline is not punishment. It is protection. It protects your future from your present weakness. And do you know something interesting? The more disciplined you become, the more freedom you experience. Because you are no longer a slave to your emotions. A disciplined man eats not just for taste, but for strength. He spends not just for pleasure, but for progress. He speaks not just to react, but to build. This is not about being robotic. It is about being intentional. You will not always feel confident. You will not always feel inspired. You will not always feel capable. But if you build the habit of showing up, especially on the days you don't feel like it, you begin to respect yourself. And self-respect is the birthplace of confidence. Let me tell you something honestly. The world respects disciplined men because they are predictable in effort. When they commit, they deliver. When they promise, they execute. That reliability builds trust, and trust builds influence. But understand this clearly. Discipline is invisible at first. No one applauds you for skipping junk food. No one celebrates your silent study sessions. No one gives you a trophy for not reacting to provocation. But slowly, very slowly, your life begins to look different. Your body changes, your bank account changes, your mindset changes, your circle changes. And one day people will say, "You're lucky." They didn't see the discipline. The brutal truth is this: becoming high value is boring before it is impressive. It is repetitive before it is rewarding. It is lonely before it is respected. You will miss parties. You will say no to distractions. You will say no to distractions. You will choose long term over short term. And sometimes you will question yourself. But remember this: every time you honor discipline over comfort, you are voting for the man you want to become. Your habits are casting votes daily. So ask yourself, who am I voting for? Because the high value man is not built in moments of excitement. He is built in moments of decision. And if you can master this one principle, showing up consistently, regardless of mood, you have already separated yourself from the majority. The world runs on emotion. Leaders run on discipline. And when discipline becomes your lifestyle, not your struggle, you will not chase success. Success will begin to chase you. You must be comfortable being misunderstood. This is one of the most painful yet liberating realities of becoming a high value man. The moment you decide to raise your standards, something unexpected happens. Not everyone celebrates you. In fact, some people become uncomfortable, and that discomfort often shows up as criticism. When you stop wasting time, they call you antisocial. When you stop tolerating disrespect, they call you arrogant. When you focus on your goals, they say you've changed. Yes, you have changed. Growth always feels like betrayal to those who benefit from your old version. There was a young man who next told me, "Sir, I've started focusing on my career. I've reduced going out. My friends say I've become boring." Boring. I asked him, "When you are successful tomorrow, will they complain that you worked too hard?" He smiled. He knew the answer. The brutal reality is this: not everyone who started with you is meant to continue with you. And that is okay. A high value man does not seek universal approval. He seeks alignment with his purpose. Understand something very deeply. When you live unconsciously, you blend in. When you live intentionally, you stand out. And standing out attracts attention, not all of it positive. Human beings are comfortable with patterns. When you break the pattern, you disturb their comfort. If you were always available and suddenly you prioritize your time, people feel rejected. If you were always agreeable and suddenly you express boundaries, people feel challenged. But listen carefully. Being understood by everyone is not a sign of maturity. It is often a sign of people pleasing. And people pleasing is emotional slavery. Many men remain average, not because they lack talent, but because they fear being disliked. They compromise their standards to maintain acceptance. They laugh at jokes they don't find funny. They agree with opinions they don't believe in. They stay in environments that shrink them. Why? Because they fear isolation. But here is the truth: temporary isolation is the price of permanent elevation. When you begin your journey of growth, you may walk alone for some distance. The gym at 5 a.m. is not crowded. The study table at midnight is not surrounded by applause. The man who chooses integrity over shortcuts often stands alone. But that loneliness refines you. It forces you to confront yourself, your insecurities, your fears, your doubts, and slowly you build internal validation. When you no longer need constant reassurance, you become emotionally stable. Become emotionally stable. Become grounded. Become principles instead of popularity. You become grounded. A high value man understands that misunderstanding is part of the journey. Even great leaders in history were criticized, innovators were doubted, visionaries were mocked. If you are waiting for universal approval before taking action, you will wait forever. Now, this does not mean you become arrogant or dismissive. It does not mean you ignore feedback. Wisdom is knowing the difference between constructive guidance and insecure projection. Not all criticism is hatred. Sometimes it is care, but learn to filter. Ask yourself, is this feedback helping me grow, or is it trying to keep me small? Because sometimes people criticize not because you are wrong, but because your discipline reminds them of their excuses. And here is something very important. You must also be prepared to misunderstand yourself. Growth is not linear. Some days you will question your path. Some days you will doubt your direction. But if your values are clear, your path will stabilize. Clarity reduces confusion. When you know who you are becoming, the noise becomes background. The brutal truth is this: you cannot evolve and remain comfortable in everyone's eyes at the same time. Choose growth. And as you continue walking this path, something beautiful happens. The wrong people fall away naturally. And the right people, those aligned with discipline, purpose, and depth, begin to appear. Your circle changes. Your conversations change. Your standards change. And one day, the same people who misunderstood you may say, "You were right." But by then you won't need their validation, because you will have something far more powerful: self-respect. A high-value man does not try to convince everyone. He simply lives his truth consistently. And in that quiet confidence, there is immense tree. So if today you feel misunderstood because you are growing, do not panic. It is not rejection. It is redirection. Keep walking. You must master your emotions, not suppress them. This is where many men become confused. Some believe strength means silence. Some believe masculinity means silence. Some believe control means pretending nothing affects them. But let me tell you something very honestly. Pretending not to feel is not strength. It is avoidance. A high-value man does not suppress his emotions, he studies them. There is a powerful difference. Suppression is pushing anger down until one day it explodes. Mastery is understanding why the anger is there in the first place. Suppression is hiding sadness behind pride. Mastery is sitting with sadness long enough to learn from it. Suppression creates pressure. Mastery creates awareness. I once met a young professional who told me, "Sir, I never get angry." 5 minutes later, he was shouting at a waiter for bringing the wrong order. I smiled gently and said, "You don't avoid anger, you store it." Many men store emotions like unpaid bills. And one day, the interest becomes too high. The brutal reality is this: if you do not control your emotions, they will control your destiny. One impulsive message can destroy a relationship. One angry reaction can cost you an opportunity. One ego-driven decision can collapse years of hard work. Emotions are powerful energy. They are not enemies, but they are dangerous when they are in charge. Think of your emotions like a powerful car engine. If you don't know how to drive, that engine becomes a threat. But if you learn control, it becomes your greatest advantage. Anger can become courage. Fear can become preparation. Jealousy can become inspiration. Sadness can become reflection. But only if you pause. The pause is power. When someone insults you, your ego wants immediate defense. But a high-value man asks, "Is responding worth my energy?" Energy is currency. You don't spend money everywhere. Why spend emotional energy everywhere? Why spend emotional energy everywhere? I remember a story of a monk who was insulted publicly. He simply smiled and walked away. Later, someone asked him, "Why didn't you react?" He replied, If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, who does the gift belong to? Control is not about silence, it is about choice. When you choose your response instead of reacting automatically, you gain authority over yourself. And here is something important. Emotional mastery also means vulnerability in the right space. A high-value man can say, I am struggling. He can say, I made a mistake. He can say, I need help. That is not weakness, that is maturity. But he does not complain to everyone. He does not display emotional chaos publicly. He processes privately and responds thoughtfully. You see, emotional instability makes you predictable, and predictability in anger makes you manipulable. If someone knows exactly how to trigger you, they control you. But if you become centered, calm, and self-aware, you become unshakable. This does not happen overnight. It requires daily awareness. Notice your triggers, notice your tone, notice your thoughts before they become words. The tongue moves faster than the brain when emotions take control. And once words are released, they cannot be recalled. The brutal truth is this: many men lose respect not because they lack talent, but because they lack emotional regulation. They overreact, they overshare, they overpromise. Mastery is restraint, and restraint is strength. Let me tell you something very practical. Next time you feel anger rising, do not speak immediately. Take one deep breath, then another. You will realize that emotions are like waves. They rise, they peak, they pass. If you can survive the peak without acting foolishly, you win. Emotional maturity is not coldness, it is calm intensity. You can be passionate without being aggressive. You can be confident without being loud. You can be strong without being harsh. The world respects the man who is steady. In chaos, he is grounded. In success, he is humble. In failure, he is reflective. And here is the final truth about emotional mastery. It begins with self-awareness. Ask yourself daily, why did that bother me? Why did I react that way? What insecurity was touched? When you understand yourself deeply, no one else can destabilize you easily. The high-value man is not the one who never feels. He is the one who feels deeply but chooses wisely. And when your emotions become servants instead of masters, your life becomes intentional instead of accidental. That is real power. Your value is built in silence. This is where the real separation happens. We live in a generation that loves to announce progress more than making it. Big things coming, new chapter. Watch this space. And sometimes I feel like telling them, first write the chapter, then announce the book. There is something deeply powerful about silent growth. Have you ever planted a seed? You water it, you nurture it, you protect it, and for days, sometimes weeks, nothing appears on the surface. If you are impatient, you may assume nothing is happening, but beneath the soil, roots are forming, foundations are strengthening. Life is organizing itself quietly. That is how a high-value man is built. In darkness, in privacy, in discipline that no one sees. The brutal reality is this: if you need applause to continue, you will quit too early. When you go to the gym and nobody compliments your body yet. When you study late nights and no one praises your effort. When you build your skill and nobody notices your improvement. This is the phase that tests you. Most people want visible results without invisible effort. But life does not work like that. There was a bamboo tree farmer who plants the seed and waters it daily. For years, nothing grows above the ground. Imagine explaining that to your neighbors. Trust me, it's growing. They would laugh. But in the 5th year, the bamboo suddenly shoots up rapidly, sometimes over 80 feet in a few weeks. The question is, Did it grow in a few weeks? Or did it grow in 5 years? Your value is like that bamboo. The silent phase is not a delay, it is preparation. A high value man does not rush exposure, he builds capacity first. Today, many people chase visibility more than competence. They want recognition before refinement. But recognition without readiness becomes pressure. If success comes before character is formed, it can destroy you. So build quietly, improve your communication skills without announcing it, increase your financial knowledge without showing off, strengthen your spiritual foundation without broadcasting it. The most dangerous man in the room is not the loudest, it is the one who has prepared silently. Let me tell you something honestly. When you are building in silence, doubt will visit you. You will question your pace. You will compare your timeline. You will feel tempted to show proof of progress, but resist that temptation. Comparison is noise, focus is power. The world may not see your early mornings. The world may not see your early mornings. The world may not see your early mornings. The world may not see your internal battles, but you see them. And that is enough. Self-respect is built in private victories. When you wake up early, even though no one checks. When you choose integrity, even though no one would know. When you keep your promise, even though no one reminds you. These are invisible wins, and invisible wins compound. The brutal truth is this: noise attracts attention, but silence builds substance. If you constantly talk about your goals, your brain gets a false sense of achievement. You feel like you've progressed because you've spoken about it. But words without action are emotional sugar. They taste sweet, but provide no nourishment. A high-value man protects his vision. Not everyone deserves access to your plans. Share your goals with mentors, not with critics. Share your struggles with wise counsel, not with gossip circles. And understand this deeply. The world will eventually see the results of your silent labor. The body will reflect discipline. The bank account will reflect consistency. The mind will reflect focus. The character will reflect awareness. But by the time the world notices, you will no longer be doing it for validation. You will be doing it because it is who you are. Silence also protects your energy. When you are constantly explaining yourself, defending your path, updating people about your progress, you leak energy. Energy should be invested in execution, not explanation. There is a quiet confidence that develops when you know your growth does not need an audience. You become steady. You move without seeking permission. You operate without craving applause. And one day, people will say, "He came out of nowhere." No, he did not come out of nowhere. He came out of years of silence. If you are currently in a phase where nobody sees your effort, do not feel discouraged. That is the forge. That is where resilience is built. That is where patience is tested. That is where patience is tested. That is where identity is shaped. Keep building. Because when the roots are deep, the tree does not fear the storm. And when your value is built in silence, no external noise can shake you. You must take radical responsibility. This is the turning point. Up until now, you can still blame circumstances. You can blame your upbringing. You can blame the economy. You can blame your friends. You can blame your partner. You can even blame destiny. But the moment you decide to become a high-value man, excuses expire. Radical responsibility means this: my life is my responsibility, even if it is not entirely my fault. Notice the difference. Not everything that happened to you is your fault. Some of you grew up in difficult homes. Some of you faced rejection. Some of you were betrayed. Some of you were never taught discipline. That is not your fault. But healing, growing, improving, that is your responsibility. And that realization is both terrifying and empowering. There were two men who lost their jobs at the same time. One said, "The system is broken, there are no opportunities." The other said, "This is painful, but what can I learn? What skill can I develop? Who can I reach out to?" Same situation, different response, different future. A high value man does not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" He asks, "What is this teaching me?" This shift changes everything. Blame feels comforting because it protects the ego. If it's someone else's fault, I don't need to change. But growth requires discomfort. And discomfort requires ownership. Let me tell you something powerful. The moment you take responsibility, you take back control. If your health is declining and you say genetics, you remain stuck. If your finances are struggling and you say bad luck, you remain passive. If your relationships are failing and you say all people are toxic, you remain blind. But if you say, what can I improve? What pattern am I repeating? What skill am I lacking? Now you have power. Radical responsibility is not self-blame. It is self-leadership. It is looking in the mirror and saying, I may not control everything, but I control my response. And your response shapes your direction. The brutal reality is this. Many men want authority without accountability. They want respect without reliability. They want respect without discipline. They want results without sacrifice. But life does not reward entitlement. It rewards ownership. If you are late, own it. If you made a mistake, admit it. If you failed, analyze it. When you stop defending your ego, you start developing your character. There is something deeply attractive about a man who says, I was wrong, not weak, not ashamed, just aware. Because responsibility builds trust, and trust builds influence. Now let me go deeper. Radical responsibility also means managing your inner world. If you are constantly distracted, take responsibility for your habits. If you are emotionally unstable, take responsibility for your triggers. If you are financially stressed, take responsibility for your spending patterns. This is not about guilt, it is about growth. A victim mindset waits for rescue. A responsible mindset creates solutions. And here is something uncomfortable. The world does not owe you understanding. It does not owe you comfort. It does not owe you success. It offers opportunity. What you do with that opportunity defines your value. There will be unfair moments in your life. There will be unfair moments in your life. You will see less deserving people move ahead. You will experience rejection on that feels undeserved. You will feel overlooked. But complaining will not elevate you. Preparation will. Responsibility also means preparing for challenges before they arrive. Strengthen your skills before you need them. Save money before crisis hits. Build emotional resilience before conflict arises. Preparation is responsibility in advance. And let me tell you something deeply spiritual. When you take responsibility for your life, you align yourself with purpose. Because purpose does not visit the passive. It reveals itself to the proactive. When you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start acting with what you have, something shifts internally. You stop feeling helpless. You start feeling capable. The high-value man understands that life is not happening to him, it is responding to him. And that mindset changes your posture. You walk differently, you speak differently, you think differently. Because you know you are not a spectator in your own story. You are the author. And authors do not complain about the plot, they rewrite it. If today you feel stuck, ask yourself one powerful question. What is one area of my life where I have been blaming instead of building? Then take one step, small but intentional. Because radical responsibility is not loud, it is consistent, and when you own your life fully, you no longer fear circumstances, you create them. That is power. That is maturity. That is the shift from boyhood to manhood. Remember this truth. Your life is not a series of random events. Every challenge, every setback, every success is a test of your character and an invitation to grow. When you align your actions with integrity, discipline, and purpose, you are not just building a life for yourself, you are co-creating with the divine, fulfilling the potential that was placed within you the moment you were born. Do not wait for the world to acknowledge you. Do not wait for circumstances to be perfect. Start where you are with what you have, guided by faith in your higher purpose. Because a high-value man is not defined by wealth, status, or power. He is defined by the courage to act rightly, the strength to persist faithfully, and the love to uplift others along the way. So stand tall, show up, serve, and remember, when you put God and your higher purpose first, everything else, fear, doubt, and limitation, naturally falls into its rightful place. Your time is now. Begin